a very foreign concept to me, although I do enjoy it, but I don't have the detailed script like everybody else. So forgive me in advance for whoever I forget to thank. So thank you all in advance. Everybody is important and less important because everybody's important here today, but I do want to thank you. I will miss some of you and understand it's not intentional. With that being said, I want to start with a story because I think it's how I operate most best. The best for you guys, my engineer for you. I have a second story we're going to add today. He's sitting over here. Standing over here is a gentleman named John Fritz. Give me a hand for John. He's part of the governor's security team. This is a classic Pittsburgh tale. This was planned, so I didn't go over time today, so I apologize already. In 2000, I started my first company creating robotic systems for the fiber optic industry. This was right around the time, right before .com crashed, perfect timing. John, who is now working for the governor, was a technician at my first startup 23 years ago. Where else in Pittsburgh do you have this experience like that? Right? Thank you. That's something that's really cool, and I was really surprised when I saw him there. And thankfully, I recognized and remembered his name, so he didn't say, oh, I remember you, but you don't remember me. I actually remember John. So, anyway, let's get back to the program at hand. But again, there's a thing about Pittsburgh that I absolutely love, which I think is really cool. So this week, one of the things that we did in advance of the summit is we brought a bunch of engineers and roboticists and technologists out to the airport. We got to see the behind-the-scenes tours. We've all seen the airport from baggage claim to security and all the stuff that we enjoy, and the big road, the big middle seat, and all those experiences we love. But we never see what goes on behind the scenes. We got to see a behind-the-scenes tour, and it was really cool. I thank the airport for doing that. It was a great experience. We learned a lot in there. And one of the things we saw, we're out there and they're driving around on this bus, driving out to the airport, where areas you don't normally get to see. It's not the tarmac, right? It's the something. It's not the ramp. Ramp, thank you. Right on what I thought was the tarmac, right on the ramp. And we're talking about foreign object detection. What foreign object detection is to see if there's any debris on the runway. Chunks of concrete, dead bird, whatever the case may be. And I don't realize this. I'm sure nobody except for the airport people realize this. There's almost 600 miles of single lane. If you take the airport and make it a single lane, 564 miles or something like that. Think about that for a moment. We have the airport, not we. The airport is inspecting from here to Philadelphia and back. Now, somebody who grew up in Philadelphia and now is from Pittsburgh, I'm not sure I go to Philadelphia and come back. You go to Philadelphia, you definitely want to come back. So I apologize for the name of but if you're going to out there back, that's how much they're having to maintain every single day and inspect every single day. So, of course, being the nerds that we are, we're just like, oh my gosh, we can do this, we can put machine vision in, should we use a drone or should we use a wheeled vehicle? We weren't thinking about, is there a way to solve this problem? We're thinking about how to solve this problem. And that's kind of the takeaway from this whole event. We've had technology for a decade that can solve that problem. But I didn't know the airport had 600 miles of runway to inspect. And they sure as heck, presumably, didn't know that we had AI and machine vision robotics tools that could help them with that. So the whole point of this summit is really create connection between industry and technology to create new solutions. We have tomorrow and Thursday, we have 40 people from either side of the table, so aviation execs and roboticists. That's 1,600 connections we're making in 48 hours. Now, as an engineer, I can tell you, picking up the phone and talking to somebody is very scary and we don't like to do it. And I will say what you're all thinking is, we don't want to talk to engineers either. So, this is a chance to get everybody through that friction and difficulty. We're going to spend a couple of days trying to develop solutions. That would be possible. I want to thank Christina Cassotis from the airport for making this possible. That's pretty good. But it wasn't for her commitment and leadership to innovation, we wouldn't have had this happen. When we called up saying, we're interested in this, it wasn't let me think about it. Yes, let's go quick, let's go fast. I like to move fast and talk fast. She's faster than I am, so that was amazing. I love that partnership. She's got the experts out there doing amazing things. I have to put a shout out to Coleman, who's been my partner in crime for this whole effort. But Christina and the airport brought in future travel experience, which there's Daniel right here, and we've got Ryan somewhere in the other, Ryan over there. I didn't know who FTE was, but they brought aviation to the table in a way that I never could have. I didn't have the ability to call up and get a hold of Delta's head of the base and say, hey, you want to come out to Pittsburgh? They did. He's here. And that's really exciting. So they FTE brought them there. Asavia, Chinese, they came really far to get here. I didn't live in Butler County. I thought I was driving far every day. They came from across the world. So thank you guys for coming out here and enjoying Pittsburgh. It's been a beautiful, sunny day. Pittsburgh's like this every day, by the way. It's always 80 and sunny, if you're wondering. So we have a lot of great people coming to the table here. This wouldn't have been possible The EDA funded a very big program called Build Back Better Regional Challenge. And as a region, we put forth a project that says, we want to create better robotics capabilities in town, we want to create better industry, we want to create better connection, we want to create jobs. So what we came up with is a program that was worked through several different partners. And I'm going to name them all, I don't know if they're all here today, so I apologize. Panelist Connection was one of our partners. I don't know if they're here. I'm sure they're here somewhere today. We had the Arm Institute with the Robotics Research Center. We had SBC, the South Aviation. We have Innovate PGH. We have Pittsburgh Robotics Center. Joel's up here. We've had some very fun conversations. Lately, but PRM is part of this project as well to represent the industry as part of this big effort that the whole community pulled together on $64 million for the region. Of course, IW was a part of that as well, and that's what I'm working with today. So IW is part of the Ben Franklin Technology Partners. Ben Franklin Network is a group of 4 different groups around all of Pennsylvania, so thank you, Dr. Shapiro, Rick Sider, who's now leading it. Rick and I work very closely on BDB, and again, I appreciate all that effort, and we've had some very fun conversations over the years. But the Ben Franklin Network invests in technology companies in the region to create jobs, to create growth, to create opportunity. And for every dollar that Ben Franklin put in, we generate $4 back. Last year, we had $2.4 billion of revenue come out of Ben Franklin supporting companies, and $1.1 million of follow-on funding as a result. That represents almost 12,000 jobs that have either been created or maintained by that network. PA was the first or one of the very first states to do this and put effort into the innovation ecosystem. Other states have followed and copied that model. And that's been a bellwether for what we want to accomplish. So the Pittsburgh story is really well known, right? We all know steel was a great industry at the turn of the century. They created Pittsburgh into what it is today. But the other part of Pittsburgh is when the steel industry collapsed. I apologize for talking way too long. We all know the steel industry collapsed. We had hard times here, but the city of Pittsburgh just couldn't say, oh, woe is us. We picked ourselves up. Created an independent society, became a world leader again. So not just in steel, now we're a world leader in research, in medicine, and technology. We have an opportunity today to bridge those two worlds. See bridge, get it? Pittsburgh City Bridges. Nobody got that the first time. So I thought it was so clever when I came up with that. Thank you, Jim. We want to bridge the old industrial capability we've had in Pittsburgh for all those generations with this new research and technology capability to create new opportunities. We need industry to help us do that. We have solutions today that we've been working on for decades. That used to be solutions of tomorrow. We're ready to deploy them right now. So I want to thank the aviation industry. I want to thank the roboticists. We want to all work together to take Pittsburgh to the future. Thank you very much. I want to introduce Matt Smith from the Allegheny Conference, so you can take over from here. Thank you.
Mike said, I'm Matt Smith, Chief Growth Officer at the Allegheny Conference. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. As many of you know, the conference at its core is an organization that brings together the public sector and the private sector to advance the economy and the quality of life in the southwestern Pennsylvania region. As I look out on this audience tonight, in many ways, you all are our secret sauce. The private sector coming to bear with the public sector. And as I see County Executive Rich Fitzgerald, my good friend Rick Sider, of course my good friend Governor Josh Shapiro, this is really a perfect example of what differentiates the Pittsburgh region from a lot of other regions when we're talking about economic development. So thank you all for coming here tonight. As Mike said, we're here tonight in large part due to the efforts by many regional organizations on building a robust regional coalition to secure nearly $63 million in federal funding via the Build Back Better Regional Challenge grant that the region received last year. With this grant, we're building on our existing position as a global robotics hub, in many ways the robotics capital of the world, and home to some of the world's best robotics talent. Pittsburgh's more than 100 robotics companies, including the world's biggest names in the industry, many of whom are in this room here tonight, are the reason that we're so successful in this particular area. The Build Back Better funds are being deployed to build and scale this cluster, ensuring that companies and people across our region and beyond adopt this transformational technology and benefit from the economic opportunity. We know that robotics expertise in our region has the power to solve problems across industries, including aviation, which is the topic of our discussion here tonight. So we're excited to welcome the global aviation industry to our region for this summit and look forward to what's next for aviation and robotics. Because of the conversation that will take place over the next few days, right here in our backyard, we are indeed inventing the future of aviation in the Pittsburgh region. So now I'd like to introduce our county executive, Fitzgerald, who is in his 12th, and I'm very sorry to say final year as our county executive. I say that with all sincerity, and for anyone who's worked with Rich over the last 12 years, Rich Fitzgerald is in many ways the living, breathing embodiment of what I touched on earlier, which is our secret sauce. The fact that over the course of his 12 years as county executive, Rich has brought together public sector leaders, not just from Allegheny County, but from throughout the region, as well as private sector leaders. Again, not just from Allegheny County, but from throughout the region. The fact that you've looked, Rich, at the economic opportunity is not one that's isolated to just Allegheny County, but one that encompasses the entire Pittsburgh region is something that's meaningful, I know, to all of our members, and I think everyone in this region. So, without further ado, very honored to introduce our county executive, Rich Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Matt, and I want to thank all of you for being here, particularly those who have come from across the world and across the country to be part of what Pittsburgh really is. In our DNA is about innovation. We've been doing this for over a century, back to the industrial age. I will also tell you that in Pittsburgh and in this Pittsburgh region, it is always a good day when the Secretary of DCED comes here. So we double it though, because we get his boss and our governor, and I appreciate the governor being here. I'm going to introduce him in just a minute after I make a few remarks and thank the people that are doing this. Christina, again, innovation that we have seen, what she has been building at the Pittsburgh International Airport over the last 8 to 9 years, is things that other places around the world haven't done and aren't doing at all. We think about the first microgrid, the first airport in the world that is developing, and over the last 2 years, developing our own energy, using solar and natural gas for the things that we do. And just this morning, the partnership that she signed with the International Airlines Group, the parent company, British Airways, again, partnering with some of the things that we are doing. And as Christina noted, the airline industry is crying out for innovation. When you think about all the things that they have to do, they don't just move people from point A to point B. They move people from point A to B, C, D, E, through security, through this and that. All the different things that we do, and all the things that are done with sustainability, with security, with efficiency, with reliability, with on-time delivery, and all the things that happen. And how can they improve that efficiency and that productivity through innovation, through the robotics industry? And there's no better place in the robotics industry than here in Pittsburgh. 100 years ago, when the National Football League was starting up a franchise, it really made sense that the name of the team that played there was called the Steelers, after the industry that we had. Well, the next time we get a franchise, they're going to be called the Robots, because that's what we are now. I don't know what it's going to be. It could be a WNBA, it could be women's hockey, it could be soccer, whatever it might be. That's what we want to be. But the fact that we're having the first ever Aviation and Robotics Summit right here in Pittsburgh is, again, something we are very, very proud of. The very first thing was the Build Back Better grant. As Matt talked about, the collaboration, and obviously Secretary in his former role was a big part of helping us secure that grant, one of the biggest grants that the Biden administration was able to award and the things that we were able to do. And that's why the companies like Google and Facebook and Apple and Microsoft and just about Amazon, every major innovative company that has a presence across the globe has a major presence here because of the innovation, because of the things that are coming out of our great universities like Jorgen University, University of Pittsburgh, and others that are always working on this. So we're very proud that we're here. And I also am very proud of the fact that the governor, who's got a big state to cover, one of the biggest states in the country, has decided to be here today and help us, because I know this governor is focused on jobs. He's focused on the future of innovation. He's focused on where we're going as a community, as a Commonwealth, and and as a country. And Pittsburgh represents a lot of that. And his support for us to be able to do the things we are doing with resources, with one of our own is the Secretary of Economic Development, is really important to us. This governor's been a tremendous partner long before he became governor, when he was Attorney General, and even when he was one of us, a local government guy, a county government guy in the eastern part of the state, always understood that the fact that economic development, innovation, job workforce development, all these things are really important. So please give it up for our good friend and our supporter of innovation in Pittsburgh, Governor Josh Shapiro.
Thank you, everybody. It is good to be here. Great to be back in the Strip District. My old office, the Attorney General's office, it's right up the street. The Strip District is growing, it is expanding, and it is a place of opportunity, just like the entire Pittsburgh region. I'm excited to be here today to talk about one aspect of that growth and innovation. Let me begin by acknowledging some of the leaders who are here with us today, some of our partners in this work, including my right hand when it comes to economic growth and opportunity, and that is the Secretary of the Department of Community and Economic Development, Rick Sider. Rick is serving as Chief of Staff at Carnegie Mellon University. He has roots here. There's a portrait of his father right along the road here in the Strip District, and he is someone who never, ever forgets southwestern Pennsylvania. And as I said, he's my right hand when it comes to growth and innovation. I also want to thank some of our community leaders who are here. Formica, thank you for your comments and for shouting out a number of my detail. That doesn't happen often. I'm sure you'll be excited to go back and tell the guys. Let me thank Ben Raju as well for his leadership. Ben, thank you very much. To Joel Reed, the president of Pittsburgh Robotics Network, someone I got the chance to know during the campaign when I made some remarks about the importance of robotics and AI. Christina, Cassotis, who opens up this community literally to the world. Every time I land here in Pittsburgh, I'm excited to see all the cranes and all the growth and all the innovation you're driving. Thank you for your leadership. We truly appreciate you. And our Chief Growth Officer at the Allegheny Conference, my good friend, we served in the legislature together. He's someone who understands growth and innovation. He was a leader on my transition team. He's helped us get off to a fast start. Our good friend Matt Smith, and Matt, thank you for all that you do. It is, we should clap for Matt. That's all right. It's great to be back in Pittsburgh with the Innovation Works and Pittsburgh Robotics Network. We're making sure, of course, that the future of robotics, innovation, and aviation is Pennsylvania made. Much of what we'll discuss here in this conference, much of the wide conversations you'll have during cocktail hours and sidebar conversations, is as a result of the visionary leadership, the belief in this community that Rich Fitzgerald demonstrated more than 2 decades ago when he entered public service, and of course over the last 12 years as our county executive. It's no accident that the Googles and other companies that we cited come here because they know they have a friend in Rich Fitzgerald who want to see them succeed. This is a place where you can incubate big ideas and know that a governmental leader is going to be there supporting you every step of the way. His term may be coming to an end, but his vision is going to last for decades to come, and I know he's going to continue to have a huge imprint on this region. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask that you please stand and clap for our good friend, Rich Fitzgerald. We are here today. Thank you. For our friends in the media in the back, Rich did make some news today announcing that the WNBA is expanding here to Pittsburgh. Robots. I will say, as a huge fan, I'm excited to see the WNBA come, and I'll be doing everything in my power to make sure that vision becomes a reality. You know, back during my campaign, I visited Pittsburgh Robotics Network headquarters to talk about my vision to reignite our economy and spur innovation all across this Commonwealth. And I spoke about how robotics and AI would be key to the growth of this Commonwealth. And that type of growth would flow right through southwestern Pennsylvania. I spoke that day about planting a flag right here, saying to the world that we are going to not just compete, but we are going to lead on AI. And I believe that leadership is already here in Pittsburgh, and it will continue to expand throughout the Commonwealth. And I want you to know, aside from all the plans and the policies and proposals and grants and budget investments, most importantly, I believe in you. And I believe that the future success of our Commonwealth depends on what happens in rooms like this. Depends on the hard work that you put in, the growth that you're able to cultivate, the people who work with you and alongside you every day to make this a place of innovation. I believe in you, and I believe in the future of this region. You have put Pittsburgh on the map as a leader in robotics and innovation. More than 100 innovation startup companies located right here in this region, many of them rooted in the big brains that we find at Carnegie Mellon University at the University of Pittsburgh. Today, I'm pleased to be back, not as a candidate, but as the 48th governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, to say that I'm ready to work alongside you, to support you, to challenge you, and to have you challenge me, to help make sure that we sell Pennsylvania to the world. That we hop on those planes that Christina is going to make sure land here. That we take our technology and our know-how to other places around the globe to invite people to come back and plant a flag here with us and see us grow. We need to build on the progress of the robotics ecosystem here. We need to build on the promise of companies that have invested here. Companies like Astrobotic. But just last month, I had the opportunity to visit Astrobotic Technologies, a great space tech company that's making waves building the first commercial spacecraft that is going to land on the moon. Astrobotic is a great example of both the enormous potential that we have here in Pennsylvania, as well as the reach far beyond this region and our Commonwealth's borders. In this case, literally all the way to the moon. I can't wait to see that Pittsburgh-made lunar lander land on the moon later this summer. We should all take pride. Jorgen started in 2007 is now a thriving, growing company ready to make history this summer. We saw the Commonwealth gain great potential in the technology that Astrobotic is developing. So our Commonwealth invested, under my predecessor, $5 million in the form of an economic development grant job creation tax credits in Astrobotic. In turn, Astrobotic is now on pace to create more than 100 high-paying jobs and put Pittsburgh on the map for the growing space industry. Kudos to John Thornton for his leadership. We'll hear from John a little bit later today. This is the kind of impact the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania can have, not just when we invest in new companies, but when we believe in those new companies. We help them connect the dots, cut through the red tape, and help them get to the goal line. One of the things I admire most about John is not just the lunar lander he developed that's been doing incredible work and research on the moon. But as we were leaving Astrobotic that day, John talked to me not just about his vision for Astrobotic, but his vision for the region, making us a hub of activity in the space industry right here in Pennsylvania. So I want to say to all of you, I believe in John's vision. I believe in the power and the potential of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to be leaders when it comes to space. I believe that this is the place where we need to plant a flag and expand and explore new horizons. We can build on the foundation of Astrobotic and other that work together. And I want you to know that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is ready to be your partner in that effort. Now, for us to be an effective partner, not only do we have to bet on space, not only do we have to believe, but we also have to make sure that our policies, our procedures, and our budgetary priorities reflect that vision. So let me talk about a few steps that we've already taken in just my first 91 days of Hughes County in office since 48. In my first week in office, we created a one-stop shop for businesses and workers so we can foster game-changing innovation investment like the kind we're all spearheading here in Pittsburgh. We are trying to streamline bureaucracy, help people get answers, and move, as Secretary Cyber likes to say, at the speed of business. Getting businesses to the points where they need to go by connecting the dots, giving them access to the resources and partners and support they need to innovate, expand, and drive change. We're also trying to make significant investments of our own. Just imagine what we could accomplish as a Commonwealth if we had the resources to invest in more Astrobotics. My budget proposal, which I outlined about a month ago, makes a significant down payment on innovation and real investments in economic development. First, I've called for a 50% increase in manufacturing innovation program, which connects our businesses with cutting-edge research by Pennsylvania universities to spur on innovation and job creation, connecting the dots between our students at CMU, our students at Pitt, and the work that is happening along the Strip District. We need to invest in making those connections. Second, my budget would invest more in training Pennsylvanians for the jobs of tomorrow through career technical education, computer science, and STEM construction. I propose a 25% increase in funding for the Pennsylvania SMART program, so students who are looking to continue on to higher ed in computer science or STEM can do just that. Third, we are going to invest in apprenticeships for advanced manufacturing trades, so everyone can play a part in the success we're seeing in the aviation and space tech industry. If we want to compete tomorrow, we have to prepare the workforce today. We have to look not just in rooms like this, but in high school classrooms all across Pennsylvania if we want to develop the workforce of tomorrow. You know, 22 years ago, under Governor Ridge, we invested over $200 million a year in vocational and technical education, VOTEC, some people call it CTE nowadays. But last year, we invested just half that, about $100 million in our young people. Fewer students today have the opportunity to pursue a job in advanced manufacturing, and fewer know that that path even exists today. I visited some Pittsburgh public schools to talk about investing more in their future through CTE, through VOTEC, showing them the jobs of tomorrow by helping them develop the skills today in their high school classrooms. My administration has a comprehensive plan to invest $24 billion in simply expanding apprenticeship programs in VOTEC and bringing career technical education back into our classroom. It's millions of dollars invested in our students, millions invested in their success, and millions invested in our future. And make no mistake, no matter how good your ideas are, no matter how cutting edge the technology that you're dreaming up today is, if we don't develop the workforce of tomorrow, we will not compete effectively. And so when we think about that competition, yes, we need to think about the kind of investments we made in a company like Astrobotic. We need to think about our universities like Pitt and CMU. We also need to be thinking about what's happening in our high schools today. That is going to be critical. These are the kinds of investments that send a signal to the world that Pennsylvania understands economic development. And I must tell you, we also sent a clear signal that we are open for business. Those who know me know that I am competitive as hell. I do not like to lose to any other states. I want to be the best at everything here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so when I say we are going to plant a flag and compete when it comes to AI and robotics and space, I mean it. And And I want you to know that you will have a partner who wants to compete with you and help break down barriers that exist, get you answers more quickly, drive resources out to you, and also help connect the dots with others across the country who want to come to Pittsburgh and compete here. Innovative companies that commit to moving and growing here deserve to know that the Commonwealth has their back and will be an active partner in them helping them making progress. Now, I hope our lawmakers in the General Assembly believe like I do in all of you, believe like I do in the need to compete in order to make progress tomorrow. I'm asking them to not just pass my budget, but to believe in the work that's being done in this room and others, and support organizations like the Pittsburgh Robotics Network and Aviation Works to bring business, workers, and research institutions in the public sector together to spur real economic growth and innovation, to unleash our full potential here in the Commonwealth, to allow every single Pennsylvanian the freedom to chart their own course and the opportunity to succeed. I want to thank you all for betting on and believing in Pittsburgh. I want to thank you for believing that we have bright days ahead in our future. I want to encourage you to remain active in this effort, to be in Secretary Sarcos here, to be in mine, to think of yourselves as partners in this progress, to take some personal pride when you see that lunar lander on the moon and know that that is Pittsburgh made. To take a look at that high school student that you see in the park and believe in them and understand that they are key to our future. To understand that when you take off from the Pittsburgh airport, you're taking off not just an airplane that happened to be there, but because we had visionaries expanding our operations there, connecting us to other communities. Understand that when you walk the Strip District and you see the explosive growth that's inviting new companies to our region, that didn't happen by accident. It happened because we had innovative leaders like Fitzgerald who believed in this community, bet on it, and put his blood, sweat, and tears, and time and energy into making this happen. So much good is happening here, and I'm bullish on our future. I'm excited for what we can accomplish together, and I thank you for having me here with you today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, you know, when we were House colleagues, I used to ask to speak in front of Governor Shapiro, not behind him. But thank you very much, Governor Shapiro, for your leadership, your commitment to innovation across the Commonwealth. We stand ready to partner with you and your administration on the review. So thank you very much. Now it's my pleasure to introduce this evening's keynote speaker, John Thornton. As we just heard, John and Astrobotic are very busy these days, and he and his team at Astrobotic are preparing to send one of his landers, developed right here in Pittsburgh, as the governor knows, to the moon later this year. John co-founded Astrobotic in 2007 in Pittsburgh. Under his leadership, the company has built 3 lunar missions with its Peregrine, Griffin, Moon Ranger spacecrafts. Prior to founding Astrobotic, John led a team at the CMU in the building of a NASA concept rover for lunar trip, and the first rover to carry a prototype of the NASA Resolve payload that will now be flying to the South Pole on the NASA Viper rover Astrobotic's John also founded the Carnegie Mellon University Advanced Composites Lab, a research training, design, and manufacturing program specializing in high-performance, lightweight composites for robotics. Ultimately, John's goal is to make space accessible to the world, and since John became CEO, Astrobotic has become the world-leading lunar logistics company delivering cargo to the moon. The company now has over 195 employees and secured more than $400 million in NASA contracts to deliver NASA instruments to the lunar surface. Time magazine last year named John to its 100 Next list, recognizing 100 rising stars from across industries and around the globe. I am very proud to now introduce our keynote speaker, Pittsburgh's own John Thornton. John.
Thank you so much for having me here today, and quite an introduction. Thank you. Really, really exciting times in Pittsburgh. We are quite literally leading our nation back to the surface of the moon with a lunar lander that we built right here in town, just across the river. You can see the building from here. So Astrobotic was founded in 2007. We're now 210 employees, gotten even bigger since the intro, I guess. We are addressing a $470 billion space industry worldwide. $470 billion. This is the massive commercial opportunity for expansion in space. Investment banks think that will grow to $1 trillion by 2040. So space is a thriving, massive opportunity. Where Astrobotic fits into that, we are using the robotics here in Pittsburgh and focusing that right at the moon. We are Pittsburgh's moon delivery service company. We have contracts with companies from all over the world and space agencies all over the world to send packages up to the surface of the moon and deliver and operate those payloads there. So first off, why the moon? What's the big deal? Why are we going there? It's not the moon mission of the prior generation. It's not a flags and footprints mission. This is all about going back to the moon and going back to the moon to stay. This is part of a $93 billion program by NASA to send the first person of color and first woman to the surface of the moon this decade. This is part of a return to the surface of the moon to seek resources, namely water. If you can find water at the poles of the moon, you found water to drink, you can split it, you've got oxygen to breathe, but perhaps most importantly, you just found rocket fuel. You can split water, condense it, and make a rocket fuel. That means you can send things back and forth to the moon. That means one day we could potentially use the resources of space for life here on Earth. And that one day we could potentially be using the resources of space to protect the delicate blue planet, the only place in our solar system that can support life as we know it. So incredible opportunities, and it all starts with the moon. So how can Pittsburgh, little Pittsburgh that's never had big space ambitions, take on and do these missions that only superpowers have done before? There's only been 3 nations that have ever landed on the moon. They've all been superpowers. How can we do this? It's because Pittsburgh is a hotbed of innovation, and it's built on a foundation of materials processing, manufacturing, and robotics now. That is a perfect storm of the talent, the creativity, the environment we need to take on something this big and achieve it with great success. So we are built right here in Pittsburgh, founded back in 2007. So you can imagine at that time we got some funny looks like, hey, we're going to start a business going to the surface of the moon, and oh, we're going to make money doing it. Oh, it's only been superpowers that have done it before. We got some funny looks, but as Pittsburghers, we roll up our sleeves, we just do the work, and we focus on showing the results at the end of the day. And that's what we did year after year after year, and eventually one thing led to the next, and we got big NASA contracts. So now I'm very proud to say that we have won upwards of $500 million in NASA contracts to deliver payloads to the surface of the moon and do other robotics technology developments for the moon. So thank you. And what that means for Pittsburgh, we now have 210 jobs right here in Pittsburgh going to the surface of the moon. We've got more than 40 local suppliers building the parts and pieces that are needed to go to the surface. We're going to continue to expand that supply chain here. We've spawned a nonprofit museum in the north side. We've also helped create the Keystone Space Collaborative, a nonprofit to foster the development of business innovation in space in the region. We are the seed, the forefront of a new era of space right here in Pittsburgh, a new industry. So fundamentally, going to the surface of the moon is really hard. We hear a lot about rockets in the news. Jeff Bezos' rocket or Elon Musk's rocket. We're actually doing the next step. It's the harder step. It's once you get to space, how do you get all the way out to the surface of the moon? How do you build a lander that can go there and land softly? It's a very, very challenging environment. You've got radiation that comes from the sun. You've got a really hot and cold environment in space and down on the surface. You've got micrometeorites flying around, and you have to do this all, 250,000 miles away from Earth with a 30-second delay in your communication. So it's very, very challenging to operate that, and that's where robotics steps in. That is where autonomy is going to navigate our spacecraft down to the surface for soft landing. That's where a lot of the same technologies that you see driving around the streets here with robots, the same technologies are being applied to the moon to land on the surface. So again, this is the foundation, the very fabric of Pittsburgh that makes this possible for what we're up to. And ultimately, it's been a lot of development and test capabilities that are making these spacecraft possible, and we do as much of that as we possibly can locally. And this is what Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh knows how to do. We build parts, actually, from, there's multiple manufacturing locations right here in town that use locally resourced aluminum, for example, to make some of the core parts of the lander structure itself. So hopefully we have a video coming up. And this is what it's going to look like down in Florida. So just in a couple months' time, June or July, we're going to launch on this vehicle, 200-foot tall, launch into space, be deployed into space. And when that launch vehicle lets go, the spacecraft is flying towards the moon on a trajectory that will intersect with the moon's orbit. We slow down when we get to this, close to the moon into lunar orbit, and then we descend for a soft landing down onto the surface. Once on the surface, we're going to become the local utility. So we're your power provider, your communications provider, and we're providing that service to our customers, which is our payload providers. So much like a large 747 carrying packages to and from the Pittsburgh airport, we're basically shipping things all the way to the surface of the moon. So this is really, really exciting. This will be the first mission back to the surface of the moon for the United States since Apollo. Nearly 50 years that it's been since we have touched the surface of the moon as Americans. This is just the tip of the spear of a whole return to the surface of the moon that is led by commercial companies like Astrobotic right here in Pittsburgh. The next big thing we're working on right now is the next mission to the moon. This is the beginnings of a lander called Griffin. This lander is 3 times the lander that I showed you earlier. This carries the largest NASA rover ever to be deployed on the surface of the moon. It'll be a 1,000-pound rover, so think like a small car or a really big golf cart. It's going to be deployed at the pole of the moon, go into permanently shadowed craters there, and actually drill for water. So this mission will, for the very first time, touch water on another planetary body. And it will usher in a new age of using planetary resources for in-space activities and one day for supporting life here on Earth. And it all starts with this lander. And this is the largest lander of any kind since Apollo. It's a monster, and it's being built right here in Pittsburgh, just on the other side of the river here, right next to Acrisure Stadium. It's just so incredibly exciting to be a part of this. What's also very exciting about this is we're going to be operating the missions here in Pittsburgh. It's not just flying to the surface of the moon and landing. We're actually going to be flying these things and controlling them from Pittsburgh with mission control right here. And then what's also very, very exciting about this is we're making it available to the public. We're going to have it's already open right now. We've created a nonprofit called the Moonshot Museum to make it available for all of you, for our entire region, to come and experience the thrill of spaceflight with us. You can look through the glass at the other side and see our spacecraft being built up. If you come today or tomorrow, you can see the lander that's going to be landing on the surface of the moon in just a couple months' time. Literally a history-making spacecraft. The next time you see it would be pictures from the moon and actually seeing it there. You can go see that on the north side, just 10-minute drive from here right now. We're building up the second lander right now. We have pieces and parts, people in bunny suits working on those landers right now to get that second mission flying. So incredibly exciting. So bring your kids or be the big kid that looks through the glass. We've got lots of those. It's a really, really, really great experience. We've had more than 10,000 people come through the museum already since it just opened up just a few months ago. So this is a historic moment for our nation, and Pittsburgh is leading it. It's us. We built this. And at the end of the day, it's just so exciting. This is the capstone, the exclamation point to all of the transformation, all of the hard work we have done as a city, as a region, to build the foundation of what we are today. And the sky is no longer the limit, quite literally. So we are incredibly excited to be here. Please follow us along for the mission. We're going to be flying in June or July, so please tune into NASA TV. Come hang out with us on the north side. We're going to be also streaming it to the other local science centers and other things there that you can follow along for the mission. This is, again, the first return to the surface of the moon since Apollo. The entire world will be watching, including the 6 nations that are flying with us to the surface of the moon, experiencing their Apollo moments for the very first time, all Pittsburgh-led. And I believe that the biggest thing that we should take away from all of this is the excitement, the possibility, and quite literally, if Pittsburgh can land on the moon, Pittsburgh can do anything. So thank you so much for having me here today, and have a great conference.
Thank you very much, John. I think, if you remember one thing, the inspiring private sector leaders like John matched up with the inspiring public sector leaders like Governor Shapiro, the world really is no limit for Pittsburgh. So thank you very much. Very excited now to introduce our panel and its moderator, Daniel Coleman. And if the panel wants to come up now, that'd be great. We can get going. Daniel is the founder and CEO of Future Travel Experience, which has become a travel industry hub to define the future of the travel sector. Daniel will moderate a panel discussion focused on the possibilities offered by automation for the aviation industry, including three key players in the space. Christina, Cassotis, CEO of Allegheny County Airport Authority, which operates Pittsburgh International Airport. Jorgen, Pedersen, COO of Sarcos Technology and Robotics Corporation. And Sterling Gerdes, General Manager of Venture and Strategy at Delta Airlines. Please welcome Daniel and the panelists to the stage. Thank you all.
Thanks, Matt, and hello, everybody, and thank you for your warm welcome. In return, I thought I'd bring some of the sunny British weather with me to repay the compliment, and I hope that's a win-win for everybody here. So we here at Future Travel Experience are really, really very proud to be a co-host of this first ever Aviation and Robotics Summit alongside the Innovation Works, the Pittsburgh Robotics Network, and Allegheny County Airport Authority. For those of you that aren't familiar with FTE, since 2006, we've been bringing together airports, airlines, technology companies, and a variety of other stakeholders from across the aviation industry to explore how we can do things better. And we do this through our international conference and expos, our online media, our baggage innovation working group, innovation and startup hub, and our thought leadership think tanks. But at FTE, innovation and collaboration have always been at the very heart of everything that we do, which is why we're so excited about this summit, which is bringing together the worlds of aviation and robotics together to share expertise and find opportunities to work together for the benefit of both industries. And I really do believe that this will be a landmark event that in years to come, we'll look back on as being a real accelerator in this space with some very tangible outcomes that's going to help us start that sports team here called the Robots, right, Rich? Because, I really just don't think there's any place better in the world that we could have chosen to be here than Pittsburgh with Robotics Row just out there behind us and all the fantastic things we've already started to see today and I know we're going to see over the coming days. So since launching FTE 17 years ago, I've seen the aviation industry change a lot, from the rollout of self-service technology to the more recent introduction of biometric passenger processing. But as we look to the future, it's clear to me that robotics and AI are now going to be the technologies that truly revolutionize the air transport industry in the years to come. And they're going to become as ubiquitous to our sector as electricity or connectivity. It's exciting to think that over the next few days, the innovators and first movers in this room will play a vital role in turning such huge potential into reality. So, speaking of innovators, Matt's already introduced them, but I'm delighted to be joined here by Christina Cassotis, the CEO of Allegheny County Airport Authority, Sterling Gerdes of Delta Airlines, and Jorgen Pedersen from Sarcos Robotics. And I'm going to do my best here to sort of have a bit of a fast-moving panel conversation. They're obviously pioneers in this realm, and we're going to try and find out a little bit about what they've been doing and what they've learned so far. So let's throw ourselves into it. Is my lapel mic working? Okay, very good. So obvious first question to each of you is how is your organization leveraging robotics today? What have you learned so far, and what plans do you have for the future? Gentlemen, I think we have to do ladies first here. Christina, would you mind kicking us off?
I would not mind kicking us off, thank you. So what's the question?
What are you doing with robotics today? What have you learned? And
Okay,
what are you going to do in the future?
What are we doing with robotics today? So we've launched the X-Bridge, which is, we took 10,000 square feet of rather unused terminal space because US Airways left us with a lot of it. And we have put it to work to test robotics technologies from this region. A lot of startups have come through the X-Bridge, and not necessarily those that would have thought aviation was a natural place for them to deploy. So what we've learned is that when you open the door and say, hey, want to see what's possible, lots of companies come in and say, you know what, we didn't think about this, but let's try it this way. It's incredibly exciting. I'm really proud that we have the entire organization behind this. Yeah. And that we have a community that really wants to be involved. It is no joke that this community, as John mentioned, it's just sort of, they're problem solvers, right? They come in and they say, oh, let's think about this, let's think about that. And we heard about that in terms of the tour. So what have we learned? We've learned that there's so much more to do, and we've learned that we can benefit an entire industry if we work with our partners.
Good. Sterling, tell us about the robotics at Delta.
Yeah, definitely. So at Delta, it's really all about the people for us. So in our context, we're looking at how do we use high tech for high touch. Many of you know what that means, but for those who don't, high tech for high touch is saying, hey, what is at the center of what our people need? Our employees, our customers, and how do we really take those things and enable the best high touch experiences for those people? To that end, we've been really public about our partnership with Sarcos Robotics. They're an amazing partner. We brought them with us to CES in 2020, and we just continued to iterate with them. So what we've done is gone across our entire organization and said, hey, for us it's about safety. Within the context of safety, what are those jobs, those tasks that are really high risk, high injury problem areas? And said, okay, great. Sarcos, how can you help us? Dug into them, iterated to really find the best use cases that make our people safer.
Yeah, very good. Jorgen, would you like to follow on from that?
Yeah, at Sarcos, we're focused on improving worker safety and productivity, and there's so much opportunity within the aviation sector to focus on that. I'm able to talk about some of what we do, and some I cannot. What we have publicly announced that we have done early trials of baggage handling with Changi Airport in Singapore. We, clearly are working with Delta on some opportunities, but what we're focused on is really amplifying that workforce and leveraging the domain expertise of the people. And if you think about robotics, you can really enable a massive change within this industry, right? Yeah. There are many challenges that the industry faces. One of them are travel disruptions from weather. Yeah. If you can keep those bags moving through lightning strikes, and it has tremendous economic impact. Additionally, a lot of those jobs are very prone to injury. Yeah. Now you're starting to keep people out of harm's way, right? So it's having a tremendous impact in multiple ways across the industry. And really, what we've learned so far is we've been very thankful to Pittsburgh International and the X-Bridge for giving us access, because one of the barriers, one of the hard things to date has been getting access to this equipment. You just don't walk up to an A320, on the street, right? You need to get access to this equipment. You need access to data. We need to see bags coming off of a plane. So leveraging the partnership with X-Bridge to get access to that, to ensure that we are creating product that is going to meet the safety and the reliability requirements that this industry demands, right? And that's one of the big barriers. So we've done early trials. We publicly announced that we went to Changi Airport in Singapore and did some early trials there. We continue to do testing at Pittsburgh International. And where we're focused now is really on that reliability and safety, because we've already proven the concept. The technology maturation level is exactly where we want it to be.
Yeah.
Now it's about just getting it polished and ready to be deployed as a product within the industry.
Okay, very good. So what are the big challenges that you think that robotics and automation can help our industry solve? Christina?
First and foremost, it's always, I really appreciate my colleagues talking about safety and as well as passenger and staff experience, right? So at the end of the day, what we're always looking for is what are the tasks that can be automated so that people can actually do higher value work that it takes people to do, right? So if you think about the old days and what technology has done for any industry, I would argue that there aren't fewer people doing it, they're just doing different things, right? So what we're looking for is, if you think about perimeter detection, we have 8,800 acres, we are a very big airport. Perimeter detection is probably not best suited to a human being driving that every single day to look for, a deer that jumped the fence or something that could perhaps be an issue. So where does technology play in something like that so that we can work with our folks in higher and better uses in the way that we look at it? The other thing is that the whole industry has changed. We're building a new terminal. We have to make sure that our folks can use that technology, they can use it safely, and it can allow them really, truly to do the work that they should be doing. So I think that there's a lot of challenges, and aviation needs to catch up to solving them because a lot of other industries have done it, and because of our highly regulated nature and because of the way that we actually work with safety first and foremost, I think that we have a lot of opportunity, and it's great to be working with partners like this and others to help solve those issues.
Sterling, are there any other specific challenge cases, use cases you're looking at?
Yeah, definitely. So she actually took a bunch of speaking points. No, it's great. I love it. We're on the same page. So what she said, but in that context, even the things like when we look at, again, for us, it's all about our people, right? It's taking care of our people. It's taking care of our customers. So when we look at safety, even one of the speakers mentioned earlier, FOD, right? Foreign object debris.
Yeah.
If you don't know about it, that's normal. Most people have never heard of that. It's actually a big deal, right? And so maybe there's a startup out there, maybe even tonight, that says, hey, we do foreign object debris detection. Fantastic. We want to talk to you. Yeah. And so it's all those things where, especially in our context, my job is tech scouting and venture. And so it's finding these startups, finding the innovators who want to go out there, make the products, and build it so it's business ready to enable us to be more safe.
Yeah. And we want you to test it with us.
Yeah, right.
Great. So
Test it here in Pittsburgh.
it's already working.
Yeah. Jorgen, could you talk some more specific challenges and use cases?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on some major ones already, which include getting access to the equipment, right? Having venues like the X Bridge help tackle that down. Having innovative leaders, right? Delta, having Shani, those organizations who are going to help move us forward and drive to create these solutions. And then another point they covered a lot of it already. One other point that I think that robotics brings is, robots are really just a tool, and the jobs are going to continue to be there. They're going to continue to grow. What we're doing, we're just changing the jobs. We're changing the pool of qualified workers. You no longer need to be a 95th percentile male to huck bags around, right? You can change the landscape and change who can enter different industries by applying robotics and AI into the industry.
And there's just a lot of places in aviation that is, I'd just say, dangerous, right? You talk about Singapore. I was there a few weeks ago, wild lightning and storms, and you humans out on the ramp at those times. I'm guessing you see, automation and robotics playing a role in those kind of environments, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really detrimental. There's a huge economic impact. Every time there's a lightning strike, the plane operations stop, and then another plane lands, and people deplane, and then they have to sit there and wait.
We have to shut the ramps down, right? I mean,
Right.
Actually, we have to shut the ramp down
Right.
when lightning is striking because we can't risk any worker lives.
Exactly. But if you can put robots out there, they can keep operations going, and then back up these bunch operations that occur, and you get this backlog and this cascading effect, and which keeps the planes on the ground. And when the planes are on the ground, you're losing money. When planes are in the air, you're making money, right? So there's a strong economic impact. There's a strong safety impact, and we're able to address both with robotics.
And in theory, like an entire aircraft turnaround could be covered by robotics, right? I would have thought in not too distant future. So that's another use case I guess you guys are thinking about.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
So, the whole aircraft turnaround, everything that needs to be done on an aircraft between turnaround could be done by robotics in theory.
Yes, someday you will see, all underwing activities, being expedited and increased productivity and safety out on the apron.
Excellent. So what are the primary barriers to adoption then? I guess regulation, cost, infrastructure, I'm guessing, might have some stuff, or I guess awareness perhaps by the market, what the capabilities of robotics are now. What would your views be? Sterling, perhaps I could ask that to you first.
Yes, we've touched on them some already, so yes.
Yes.
Definitely. So access actually, we've come out now publicly that we're, a senior leader said, hey, we want to work on autonomy on the tarmac, right? And even in those first iterations, it was always about how do we get access to this? How do we work with the regulators? How do we get the right space, right? Even finding, hey, we can get in and around a space that's similar to the real operation. Definitely change management, right? Definitely training. There's a lot of these things where you have to work with the regulators. You have to get the training done properly so that people can be in these environments in a safe way. And again, I keep coming back to the same thing, but it really is like, if we can do this to better take care of our people, it changes the dynamics for the entire industry.
Yeah. Jorgen?
I think we touched on a lot of the, we're going to rely on our partners for the regulatory aspects. But once again, the biggest way to advance and move forward is getting access to real equipment. We got a fuselage of an A320 sitting out at Pittsburgh that we're testing on, right? As part of the X-Bridge, and that's how we're going to really advance and make impact quickly. Because anytime you touch an aircraft, you got to make sure that you are, have that reliability that is needed by the industry.
Yeah. And Christina, I think that a lot of this adoption is going to come down to mindset, and I think leadership relating to that. And I think in Pittsburgh, you've done a fantastic job, I have to say, of creating an innovative mindset. So maybe could you speak a little bit about that, about the culture you need to create to drive these things through, and perhaps what we might see at the new terminal, what we might see with that,
So you cannot innovate if you cannot allow people to take risks. You cannot innovate if everybody is worried that if they don't do it perfectly, they're going to lose their job. Yeah. So in order to create a culture of innovation, you actually have to create a culture of trust. And I know it all sounds squishy, but I got news for you. It never works. Yeah. If everybody says, I need a new product. If it's not tested, if you can't count on partners who are going to be honest with you, and if you can't hear, well, that didn't work, let's try something else, it doesn't work. I tend to think, and somebody mentioned it earlier, you need a leadership lens. Delta and Bastion, right? There's a focus on what matters and what are we going after. And I think that when leadership says we're going to actually reinforce a culture that allows for innovation, then you can start to see it. And once you get some early wins, it builds on itself. Yeah. So, we're our own startup in a sense, because we turned things around dramatically about 8.5 years ago, and now we're starting to see all of these pieces come together that allows us to partner literally with folks around the world to test in Pittsburgh. And I think that there's an enormous opportunity to actually accelerate the adoption of this industry and the technology that's going to drive it forward. Because we have a space where we're like, come on in, figure it out, we'll do it together. And we have a team that says, it might not be perfect, but it's going to keep moving. Sure. And I think that's important.
And to squeeze you just a little bit more, in terms of the new terminal, do you have any definites on how robotics might play a role
Well,
there?
listen, we've already got the, what's it called, that whole algae machine that's oxygenating it's cleaning the air with algae, and he can talk to you about it. There's it's been fantastic. The roboticists, the folks involved in AI, the people in this community have come out and sort of said, well, what about this, and how do we think about that? I think we have 10 active projects right now, lots more in the pipeline. We haven't decided on everything yet, right? Because whatever we open in 2 years, I promise, hasn't even been invented yet.
Okay, interesting. And Sterling, perhaps you could touch on that innovation, because you have the hangar at Delta, there's a lot of stuff. So again, do you have any wise tips for the audience in terms of how you can drive some of these things through to fruition?
Yeah, so there's actually this T-shirt that we had at CES that was EQ plus IQ. Yeah. Right? And there's a lot of focus really in that context of like...
We all want one.
They are very limited. But we'll see. So in that context, it's like, how do you take the squishy side, but really the human factors? For us, within the hangar, at our core, we've always been about putting people first. Yeah. Right? So what that means, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's human-centered design. It's walking out and actually engaging with our frontline employees and saying, hey, what are the things that are really going on in your world? How can we design something for you? How can we design the right things that, again, get back to this high tech for high touch? Collaboration, iteration, all these things that are kind of standard in the tech industry, and then really driving that in with your partnerships and having real, may sound funny, but like real partnerships. If you look at what Delta does, we partner in a way that's a long-term horizon and say, how do we do the best for each other? Yeah. Right.
Which is actually, just to be candid, in a publicly traded company, in an industry that is under enormous pressure constantly, is not standard, right? So this is I would say that aviation is new to all of this. Yeah. We're infrastructure. We don't move quickly traditionally. So the fact that we are doing this kind of innovation and allowing for it is actually a huge cultural shift in an airport industry, in an airline industry, and to be partnered with fast-moving tech firms is actually new, and that's why it's exciting that we can do it here, because there are so many of them. So you actually have to have people who understand how quickly you have to move. Yeah. We don't get to sort of make hierarchical decisions, right? That iteration is fast. Yeah.
And Jorgen, I was going to follow up with you, because do you have a message for those airlines and airports out there in the audience who are going down this path? What does a great supply need to advance from its partners?
I'll give you one extra second to think if you want. One thing that you mentioned too, just on the infrastructure side, so many of the things in the airport space, you can't just go pour new concrete today.
Thank you.
Right? You can't just, hey, let's just install a few extra support beams because you're in a high earthquake area, right? There's a lot of planning that goes into that. It's incredibly regulated. Yeah. And so really partnering with local governments, local airports, understanding their context, and bringing our partners along together to create the right solution for everybody is critical in that.
Yeah, very good. Jorgen?
And I'll add that when most people think of robotics, I think they think of the factory floor and everything being automated and moving things from point A to point B really quickly and reliably, and it's programmed. And that's what most people know and understand. And I think as you're looking beyond the factory floor, going out onto the tarmac, onto the apron, you need to start thinking about a different world. And that's where we focus, where we're about computer vision and AI understanding and perceiving the world so that we're thinking and acting like humans, and we're becoming extensions of humans and enabling the future by applying both the hardware as well as the software. And I don't think the world is really aware that this outdoor mobile manipulation technology is ready, right? And we've been evolving it specifically for the aviation market for the past 5 years, right? And we're only going to introduce it when we have confidence that it's going to meet the safety and reliability requirements, but we're darn close.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a decade from now.
Yeah.
It's in the next few years. You're going to start seeing this technology penetrating the industry. Both air side, terminal side. Right. It'll be throughout. But it's coming, and it's coming now.
Absolutely. And someone said to me today, like, the next 10 years for aviation is going to be transformational. I sort of think, yeah, that's spot on. So in terms of a closing question, what does the future of aviation look like with robotics involved? I used the word ubiquitous earlier. In 10 years' time, how central do you think robotics is going to be to this sector? Christina, maybe I'll ask you that.
It's going to be central and essential, and I love what you said about human-centric design. We actually do the same thing around, we are actually looking at all of what we're doing from the perspective of human-centered design to figure out how people actually use it, not what we think, but what they are actually wanting and what they actually need. I think that robotics, AI, technology is going to continue to actually improve the passenger experience, the staff experience, and I think aviation will be exciting and easier, less awful.
Sterling, what about you?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I think, what's happened with this tech, even over the last 5 years, is amazing. Everything from your AI, your software stack, the sensors, what you can do with perception. In our context, like, how can these things enable teleoperation, right? And take, again, looking at safety, how can I make this the best possible experience for our people as well as for our customers? And so I do really think this is, hey, I could not have called out what was going to happen in AI 3 to 6 months ago, even though I helped build out an AI team in the past. I think there's a lot that's going to transpire and really change the dynamics of the game. But again, it's all about high tech for high touch and improving the safety for our people.
Yeah. Jorgen, last words to you.
Well, I think that robotics and AI are actually critical to allow for the growth of the industry. They don't have to all be Sarcos guardian robots. It can be just the majority. But the change is coming. It's coming fast. I think that for those who are going on the tour, you can come see some of the Sarcos technology, doing some of these really hard real-world problems outside of the factory floor, out on the tarmac. The time is now for robotics to truly have an impact. Not only in aviation, but the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a great sentiment to finish on, and I'd like to thank you all for your attention. I hope we've got the cogs in your brains whirring, because I think we have such great possibilities here in the next couple of days, and we're eager for all of you now to get really stuck in over the next few days and create some really tangible ideas that we'll see in the years ahead. We'll be like, look at that thing there, like, this was created in Pittsburgh that week. Like, how cool was it that we're part of that? So let's really embrace this opportunity and get stuck in. So I'm going to pass back to Joel Reed at the Pittsburgh Robotics Network shortly. Before I do, please give a warm round of applause to Christina, Sterling, and Jorgen for their contribution. Good.
Okay, hello everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Joel Reed. I am the president of the Pittsburgh Robotics Network, and I'm actually still a recovering robotics entrepreneur. So I have to say, when we do these types of things, we go into it with the plan to inspire people, and I'm always amazed at how inspired I am by all the people who are participating. So I'd like to have everybody again thank our governor, who's so incredibly inspiring as a leader for us, our county executive, and for this amazing panel, and for John Thornton and the team at Astrobotic. Can we give him another round of applause? It's really super exciting. I am very aware that I'm holding us up for drinks, and I want to grab one just as much as you do. So give me just 2 minutes here. I want to talk about our community. Many of you are here for the first time. We welcome you to Robotics Row. We welcome you to the Pittsburgh robotics community. When we kind of started this out several years ago, and even before, we had some community leaders who came together and realized that something big was happening. We've always known about Carnegie Mellon University, but we had a lot of companies that were like Astrobotic, working very hard, and like Sarcos. And we have some leaders here today who founded this organization in 2016, Kevin Dowling, Parag Bhaktavia from Naya, Jorgen from Sarcos, previously of RE Squared. Patty Rode is here from a great organization called Girls of Steel. Aaron Morris, I hear you laughing during the early networking from All Vision, and Marcel Bergerman from Near Earth. There might be others, forgive me if I've missed you. But that group got together, and we're now over 100 companies, commercial companies with over 7,000 direct employees. And we span from autonomous vehicle companies that are leading autonomy like Aurora. And we have large corporations that have set up significant operations here like Caterpillar, Bosch, and Honeywell. And then startups like Astrobotic, and then we also have Thorough, which actually has had some floor cleaning solutions at the airport. And now you're joining us. Our community is growing. And this is really helping us meet our aspiration to be the robotics capital of the world. So we really welcome you here. I also want to make a comment about what's going to happen over the next 2 days. Not every one of us is going to be participating in this workshops. The reason why we're doing these summits is to learn directly from our industries as a robotics community. We want to be able to discuss what's happening in technology and what is possible, but we really want to figure out what is the pathway to possible for viable solutions so we can accelerate the use and the adoption of these systems. And so we really thank everybody for all their insights and for giving us lessons that we could take back to our businesses, even if we don't have solutions that are targeting aviation and airports. And now that Astrobotic is taking us to the moon and to outer space, and by the way, and I think that this was a very appropriate topic because my father is also in the aviation space, and he is a huge aerospace geek and space geek. So he'll be very excited to see the launch. But now that Pittsburgh's going to the moon, maybe perhaps we could become the robotics capital of the galaxy or the universe. So yes, we do have ambitious plans. So I'm going to close with just some final acknowledgments. Really want to thank our partner Innovation Works, Mike Formica. Ben, thank you very much. The entire team, there's a lot of work that goes into this. Again, to the airport, Pittsburgh International Airport, and Christina, and I also want to make sure that everybody recognizes Cole Wolfson, an incredible amount of work to be able to get a disparate number of partners to come together, which is extremely valuable for all of us, incidentally. We have new friends now in the industry, in Daniel and Ryan. Thank you very much, and the network of Future Travel Experience. We feel like now we have deeper relationships that we can continue to pursue. We really welcome all of you from the aviation space to stay involved with us. This is just 2 days. I know that we're going to have some exciting outputs and outcomes, but let's make sure that we do some follow-up. We'd like to have you back. We'd also like to go to your facilities and to your environments so we can learn more directly. I have lots of robotics friends here. Really great that the community came out. You guys really rock. We really thank you for your time, and please be sure to think about some of these lessons and apply them to your companies. And again, I can't thank Secretary Rick Seiger for his support of the community and making Build Back Better a reality. We have members of our coalition here. They represent the educators, the researchers, workforce development partners, and also community developers. We are coming together as a community to be able to accelerate this new economy, not only in Pittsburgh, but to set Pittsburgh as an example for the world to follow. And then finally, I want to make sure I thank the Allegheny Conference. Thank you, Matt, and also Stephanie Pashman, and I also want to thank Mike Harden. You guys have been incredible supporters, of this network, of our community, and I'll close on the fact that they are paying for our drinks, so let's thank them. Thank you very much. For those in the workshops, have an incredible 2 days. Looking forward to some fruitful outcomes. I wish you a lot of luck, and we look forward to seeing more of you. Thank you very much, everybody.